If growing up actually means growing down. Today it's infinitely hard to find out what maturity is, because there are not very many role models, so to speak. There are not very many beings who carry the seed of that quality, of that maturity. In a way, you could say that the main word in that maturity is responsibility. And in that responsibility, that there is a full willingness to meet the pain which is in existence. When we speak about the warrior quality, it's the quality of going in. It's the quality of not pulling back from anything. It's the quality of meeting and defeating anything within us which has the quality of avoidance. When it comes to the meeting with that pain. We can become the master of so many things. But a few words that passed through my mind earlier was that this basically comes down to becoming a master of pain. And we no longer move away from pain, and we no longer have the need to retract. And we have no fear left of meeting whatever is in us in depth. Right there, of course, there can be nothing can escape the quality of you down through everything. In that meeting with pain, the option of letting go of the someone in pain, letting go of the negativity, of the negative attitude towards pain, which is that which can be considered the least pleasurable. If we can meet that which is the least pleasurable with pleasure, then that turns into the agreement to allow ecstasy of being. It turns into that maturity, it turns into that quality of respect for existence. When it comes to the mother, when it comes to matter, there is something infinitely valuable in that. Be aware that the agreement to meet pain and to dive through pain is not the same as it's not the same as the someone starting to in any way grab the pain. It's not at all the same. It's not about making something out of the pain. It's actually about the opposite. Because to start out with, when we make that movement of avoidance away from pain, we are making something out of pain. That movement is happening as not wanting. The wanting the pain, thinking that there is something to it, is equally as inaccurate. I'm talking about a death through the pain, which neither leaves the pain or the someone in pain, but just becomes an expansion downwards. It requires a giving up in the middle of that pain, in a way where the someone experiencing the pain simply merge into that which appears to be the pain, because the pain itself is some kind of friction. As we come in fuller.
I'm a bit confused when you say giving up. Because sometimes when I feel the pain, I feel like I give up, but it seems to be an avoidance. Not just like, oh, I can't take it, I just give up. But it doesn't feel real.
No.
So could you speak a bit more about
Those words weren't good for you then. It's good for some people. Apparently it wasn't good for you. Yeah. Letting go into the pain is a way of no longer sustaining the someone in pain. Because right there's pain, and then there's you experiencing the pain. But the moment that these two merge, then there is no longer any difference between you and the pain itself. Same as saying that you have just expanded into that which before was a pain, in it being separate from you. That relationship with pain seems to be such a big determining factor in our embrace of spirituality. Because we in so many ways try to get away from pain. And that also becomes that which means that our embrace of truth becomes something of getting out of here. Somehow the relationship with truth and the ground of inviting truth becomes different through our path. So that which starts out seeking from a point of moving away from the pain. At some point it becomes about that meeting with the pain and being able to deal with this reality as well as reality beyond this. No difference between this and that. It's very scary for people, this. The whole part about pain. And it seems that the more pain is transcended, the more other people get to meet their pain, that in them which is unhealed, in their meeting with you. And it's a beautiful thing. But it's also challenging for the people around you. And that also means that you have to be willing to take the consequence of being true, even if it challenges the people around you.
Mm-hmm. I think the most amount of fear that I experience these days is when I have to be that clear reflection for someone, and there's just times when it's like just obvious that I have to, and other times where it's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But in those times where it's like clear that I have to, it's like the fear is overwhelming.
Mm. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like in that mix of someone still being there and truth coming to be truth.
Yeah.
It's frightening for the someone to have the projection onto him or her of standing by that which is true. It's frightening both due to the fact of standing naked as that, but it's also frightening in terms of, okay, what is projected back to the him or her in that, because it's like
confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
The fear of confrontation, of being misunderstood, rejected, like everything.
Yeah, but this is all the ripples on that ocean.
Yeah.
What it actually comes down to is the projection which comes back to you, the extent of the fear, the pain of that. Because if you're being true, then you're standing with the reality of having to turn over any pain which is within existence, the moment that it's reflected in you like this.
You mean
Do you
like
understand?
their pain?
Mm-hmm.
I have to turn it over.
It's like, inside of you, Because the moment that someone is with you and you come with truth, chances are that they are going to make an ego burp.
Yeah.
When that ego burp comes, it's like it's their amount of pain that's served on your lap. And that's also where the fear rises, because, fuck it. You have to pass it through you.
Yeah.
Because the moment it ends up in your lap, it's in your system. The moment it's in your system, you need to pass it through. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And that's how it is every time that you relate with anyone.
This is what's been going on.
But that's inevitable. And the thing is that this is a part of being that responsibility. Because in that maturation, actually, if you're standing fully in your own maturation, then all pain is already included, because there is not someone ending in the pain, someone in pain. But if that's not the case, then that pain is reflected onto that someone again and again. But it's a teacher for you as well.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a bad thing at all, but it's just the weight of the world teaching you her.
And I had one experience, for example, where I don't think they received what I said. But then it just became very clear that it was completely irrelevant whether they received what I said. Because in the process of me saying it, there was so much fear and anger that I had to deal with looking like a complete idiot whilst standing, blazing in my truth, with all this fear and anger rising, and just having to deal with looking really stupid, you know, and not looking like I'm speaking truly, but knowing that it was just like this whole thing where it was like, it wasn't really about like them seeing what I was saying, it was just about me standing in my power and speaking my truth.
In all of that, you can say that in a way, the reflection that's given in that moment, if it's not received, it's simply because that other stuff is there.
Yes.
And right there, the teaching is there for that in you, which appears. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty obvious, but I still had to do it. You know? Yeah.
The learning we have in terms of being truth, speaking truth, acting truth, all of that is connected in with the willingness to face every part of us which still carries the ignorance of not being totally in that responsibility, because it will be reflected back to us. We cannot be in our sense of feeling without seeing the repercussions of ignorance appearing in our actions or our speech or our thoughts. We can close our eyes to it, but if we stay true in it and not make the separation from what we're standing in front, we can feel exactly how it hits whatever we're communicating, whatever we're doing. And that's the respect which is completely the reflection of love being the actor. That's the reflection of truth and love being the same thing. One second. Okay. Fullness in love as her, as that loyalty to the feminine. Means that we're never separated from what we are communing with. It means that we deeply feel the repercussions of our actions whether that be with human beings or at all, with anything. Without this in place, whatever idea we get to help anything, to carry anything out on this planet, without deeply embodying the reality of that non-separation in terms of deeply down in our guts, there is no chance that we will be able to do what's necessary for this place. It can come with an endless stream of ideas and plans of what we think is best. But unless we use our sense of feeling, we can never know what's best. In embodiment, in our surrender to truth, into her, we need to fully embody the reality of her. Or she will never be able to manifest as peace, as love. You had a question?
When you said take the repercussions of our actions, so when we reflect truth and then it comes back as an attack or ignorance, are we passing their pain through as well as the pain that it ignites in us? Like, if it's purely their pain that's projected into our system, are we passing their stuff through us, or are we just passing the stuff that they ignite in us?
What is this, them and us? That's exactly my point. I said, what is this talk about them and us? It's exactly that separation that needs to go. And that's not the same as becoming a magnet for everyone else's pain. It's definitely not the same, because that part of being a magnet for others' pain can only be there due to a savior syndrome still being alive. It can only be there through there not being a full integrity which belongs to that woman as well as the woman. Do you understand? As long as there is still something pushing around in there. The part of becoming a magnet for other people's pain, it depends on this: is there a receiver or is there a giver? But it seems that the eradication of both is the case when she is the case. There's not a giver and there is not a taker. One second, there was a question over here first. Or is it combined with this?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Would you say that the best way to deliver those words is to deliver them as if you're talking to yourself? In that sense, you're landing on your own ears more than the person in front of you.
It's kind of like speaking to yourself, but not believing that everyone is like you. It's more like being so non-separated from what you're standing in front that you can feel what you're standing in front. You can see what you're standing in front, and that means that the words and the response that comes according to what is the case, what's needed to be heard in terms of truth. Just what's the case here and now, in terms of the straightness of the whole situation, in terms of everything being out in the open, in terms of no personal, no private, no anything, just plain facts of, okay, love for myself as a human being, love for him or her as a human being, in that love of everything. Did that answer your question? There was Leander, did you have a question?
It's about meeting. So, what's happening at the moment is that like this morning when you were speaking about the toilets and the things here, about taking care basically, I started crying and having like a kind of a very emotional response to that. It's about meeting. It's about the meeting.
Is that
The meeting that you're talking about.
Is
being
that
honest, or I mean, I don't know what came first. Anyway, it arose without me kind of winning it or anything.
as a response? As a response to me saying this with taking care.
I think it was about that.
Yeah.
It was when you were talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This morning there was overall here a need to take care. That taking care means, we are working on so many levels and layers when we're here together. But we also have to remember to take care down on the very physical level, yeah. Because that's a part of the integration process, yeah. Yeah. So those kind of emotional outbursts, a lot of people here this morning that needed to cry, simply a part of everything catching up. Even all the way down in the physical, that the physical body recognizes, oh, I'm taken care of in this as well. That it gets to be included in the part of being taken care of. And that it's not only about the inner, but that there is no difference between inner and outer. That there is no inner and outer. That it's all, everything is invited into reality. So those kinds of involuntary emotional outbursts, they can very much be just a reflection of her as that which is deeply animalistic, recognizing that she is also included in the equation of taking care. And it's just so releasing for her. It's so, not just releasing, it's a bad word. It's a relief for her. That this that we're doing here is not about not her. That it's all about her as well as being about nothing. That it's all part of the same equation. This is also how our being together can reach through so many layers. Because we do invite everything into the same equation of the complete relaxation, of the complete maturation. Mm-hmm. And it's damn beautiful. As well as that, Jesus, look. I find it really interesting to dance with you in and through whatever is necessary across the whole lot of us. Not as if, but since we are one and all a part of the same one. That us as matter is as significant as us as spirit, soul, as nothing, as just everything is a part of the same thing.
Can you speak a little bit about the layers of pain? So you know sometimes you meet pain purely the wound and it passes, but then sometime later you meet, it feels like you meet it again.
The thing is that the pain of, or the recognition of pain down through our beings, in one way you could say that it's got its revelation of her. And when I say her, I mean the pure man and the pure woman, yeah? I mean the true man and the true woman. But down through that we come from a place of identification, yeah? So when you speak about with different layers, it's more like your experience of that going deeper changes as your identification becomes less and less downwards. And that's also that's when the transparency starts to happen. But at some point, and more, it seems like our beings become more and more capable of dealing with the pain without the identification. So it was more that habit of identifying, that habit of grasping whatever pain is there and starting to make a story of it that makes it seem like it's different. Oh, now it's that again, now it's that, now it's that again, and all of this. Because in a way, it seems to me that it's all the same thing. It's all angles of coming to love ourselves as her, as matter, when we're talking about that going in depth thing. But surely it's got endless layers, not endless, perhaps, I don't know. It's got many, many, many layers, yeah? Oh no. Yeah. But the layer upon layer just reveals that ourself deeper and deeper, and the reflection which then makes it seem different is, okay, what layer of our identity is now being peeled off? So we have the identity and the reflection of like peeling down through these layers, the reflection of that onto our identity, which becomes less and less. And that, of course, means, okay, then this falls away, and this falls away, and this falls away. But at some point, it's no longer seems to be reflected into the identity itself. Either that, or we simply stop noticing. But maybe that's the same thing. Say it again.
This also works in reverse, in terms of you're talking about quite specifically about these kind of teachings, but also on the way out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the way out, it's different though. In terms of the identification, it's like on the way in, that lessening of identification reveals more and more of her, which is a quality, not just a quality, but a series of qualities which is revealed as source. It is source. It's the revelation of source in matter. And thereby it seems to be something, despite the fact that it's not. It seems to be a hollowing out of the human being. While on the way out, it's more like that transparency happening, that that recognition of source comes more and more up against nothing. So it's not like I'm losing my identity and then here are the qualities of this and that. Instead, it's more like losing the identification and there's nothing in its stead. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But in a way, of course, it's the same. Because that as well is source. It's just not source in matter. It's source beyond matter. Mm-hmm.
Aisha,
Mm-hmm.
how to embrace oneness and yet know when to step out of a toxic environment or to set boundaries and not allow a negative projection?
Say that again.
Because you're saying...
Say that again, please.
Okay, how to embrace oneness while...
What is oneness?
Oh, okay. You're saying non-separation between two people, right? Just be in that flow and not your pain, my pain.
I just want to make it clear, it's not about two people.
Yeah. Yep, so I'm saying
Okay.
in the context of embracing that teaching,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How as well to know when to actually step out of a situation that is actually bad for you, in which they keep projecting negativity.
Yeah, the key of both of what you're saying is the recognition of love in and as your heart. Because that recognition is equal to a listening which is so respectful that you know exactly what to do in any given moment of any given situation. And that's a matter of listening to what's best for everything right now. And when you're standing with someone, it's what is best for this situation right now. So when something in you tells you, okay, now it's probably best I shut up, then that's what you do. Because right there, whatever is going like this is tempted to keep on going. That which is trying to solve anything which is trying anything is doing like that. But at the same time, in the back of your head, you hear this. Maybe it's best I stop now. So right there, it's about choosing that which is best for everything. Yeah.
So I just felt I've been too open, and then I invite everything to come through my system and stuff I shouldn't necessarily be processing.
But that's because it comes up against that in you which wants to resolve. That in you which is willing to manipulate rather than just listen and allow that which wants to happen. Because that which steps in and wants the other one to acknowledge the truth of this or that, it comes with an agenda. And it's that thing that keeps on going, that which is tempted to keep on going, even if it can see that there is no landing place here for truth. So it tries to push things out of the way, which are not willing to give in. And that becomes manipulation, playing. And right there it's happening because the one in you wants this for the other. And that's the same as making the other into something, into someone.
And what about in the case where you're not starting any conversation, it just comes to you, and it's just like
listening, always the same. It's always about the listening.
Just listen and
it's never about the situation. What should I do when this happens, or what should I do when this happens? You don't need like a whole book of should I do like this, should I do like that, because that's not what it's about. It's about the listening to your heart, because through that heart you can hear what's the best for every situation. Because there is no right or wrong action. In any given moment, something that can look good and right in one situation can be completely off in another. But it comes down to that, the loyalty to listen to that heart. And it doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes when you listen, because sometimes you listen to the wrong thing. But I can only say that in that complete willingness to surrender to the heart of yours, your intuition goes like, and the intuition is actually just the revelation of the real voice, the voice of life itself, because that other voice becomes less and less the more that you go with the heart. And when I say that other voice, I mean the voice of the separated self. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. One second. Do we need some light here? Deva's sitting like this in the light of my iPad.
Oh, we have candles here.
Oh, you want the candles?
No, this is probably...
But we can have lights there instead.
Yeah, maybe that's better.
Yeah.
Maybe here. Yeah.
Does that help you? Okay. Seems to me that in that perseverance of embracing her, we are hollowed out in a way which reveals her as the embodiment. Right there, all of our sensitivities are turned into our strengths. That in us which is feeling the pain in the beings around us and in the communication with people, all of this. It seems that in the embodiment of her, she is that constant burning fire, which means that everything passes right through. That anything that enters your being in any communion burns on that fire immediately. That is what I would refer to as the real strength of vulnerability. Because in that vulnerability, in that openness, there is that fire. The gentle fire is warm. The gentle fire is warm. It doesn't burn people. Said another way, it melts them. My God, do we have to bend people for this to become the living reality? But it's a lot of fun. I mean, Jesus, these discoveries are what life is about, isn't it? That discovery of our own greatest potential. Not for anything or for something, just for truth. Yeah. Someone had a question, no?
It was about strength in vulnerability, and something which happened this afternoon, which completely floored my whole system. And my twist that being vulnerable and innocent is childlike and therefore weak and needy. And I've noticed it in relating that when I try and be open and vulnerable, the wounded girl is there, and that neediness, incredible neediness and weakness and loss of power comes in. So I just wonder whether you can help me.
The thing is that the neediness can either be projected outwards. Right there it just becomes something that's playing out. When we meet the woundedness honestly, there's a need for love there. But that need for love requires attention. But you are that attention. You have to agree to love yourself there.
Yeah, I realised that I hated that. That whole action, that whole being needy, that whole being, the loss of power. Yeah, it was a state which I really hated.
The thing is that the loss of power in meeting that place where there's someone there, where there is a wound there, that looks like a loss of power. And when that's met with love, then all of a sudden it's about the healing of that place, more than about accepting a state of weakness or a state of anything. It's more like being honest with your inner reality right there. And being with that in yourself, being willing to love yourself there. It's like when you meet that inner child This is going to sound funny, but when you meet that inner child, you're going to have to be the adult. You're going to have to be the parent of that child. You're going to have to take care of that child. Because it's actually just a place in you which needs a lot of love and care. And the moment that you see that wound in you, you are able to give that love and care. Simply because it's there. Mm-hmm. It's great to have someone to support us in that work. But that doesn't mean that we can't deal with it if there is no one to support us. It just means that that part of loving yourself heals this. And it can move quicker if there is a helper. Something like that. But helper or no helper, you have to take the matter into your own hands in terms of taking responsibility for what's in you. So in that, when you meet that state of that innocence and then that which feels like weakness, and to take care in that moment is everything. To take care in that very moment. To choose, even situation-wise, to not walk straight into something which slaps straight into that wound, for instance. It's a part of taking care, as in giving yourself a little space and being good to yourself. Every time we meet a place of pain like that inside, we'll feel like we're not completely ready to face the world. And when that's the case, don't. Pretty simple, actually. Because that state will only require you to take care, and then all of a sudden you will feel that that makes a shift into, oh, now it's like, now it's fine again. And then your eyes, your perception automatically turns towards, okay, but then let's take the next step into the world. The next bite of the world. Yeah. But it's a dance. It's not equal to going into 3 months of isolation and trying to beat the wounded girl out of you. That's not it. It's more like dancing with the intelligence of, okay, life is creating something is happening in life as just like whatever is going on. And I can participate in that, but I take care of myself in that. I take care of myself despite that participation. Do you understand what that means? That means being in whatever you're doing with the integrity of always being willing to, when she appears and she's having a hard time, you take care of her. The moment there is space for attending again, then you are participating. But you're never in something making that important. You're never in something making that, whatever you're in, more important than you. Because that becomes a sidestepping where all of a sudden you leave the responsibility of keeping your ground, I can almost say watered. Yeah. Watered with the love and care. Everything has to happen out of that love and care for yourself. It was fun, yeah. Oh my God.
When you're in a situation where it's really difficult to do that, like at work or whatever.
Yes. Was that a question? It wasn't a question.
So what do we do?
Well, no work is ever more important than your okayness. Simply. And any employer who would rather have you slave your ass off than take care of yourself first and then take care of everything else is a very bad employer. Is a very, would be a slave driver. Because as a leader, you would know that if you don't take care of the baseline, it will not be long before there's a burnout on the wrong end. And that's even more costly than allowing everyone to take care of themselves and then move out from there. And if that's the case, then maybe you're not working in the right place. Yeah. I mean, I worked in a place like that some decades ago. And it was only a matter of time before my love for myself showed me that I have no place being here. That choice of love for myself started moving things, including subtracting the benefit that the people who work only for money started subtracting the benefit that they were having of that energy, which was actually my being, which was being put in the wrong way out of this like work. Yeah. But it's a fine balance, because taking care all of it, taking care of yourself also requires the honesty, because it's not about dropping yourself into weakness or self-pity or something like that and then just running in circles with that. But it's knowing exactly when to fold and when to step to. And that's a matter of trust in yourself and in life. And when you talk about work, well, there are not very many employers that actually see the people that work for them, are there? Yeah. It seems, however, that no matter how we twist and turn it, the moment we choose love for ourselves, everything is supported through that. So we are actually allowed to say no when a part of existence is showing us somewhere where there is not love in the equation for ourselves. That choice of love for ourselves, it rotates everything. Yeah. Said another way, that everything, the whole universe is waiting for you to make that decision. And I say that the gentle firing is warm. I mean that she is not equal to the heart's flames. she is the result of the merging between the light and the darkness, and thereby she is not only the space in which love appears, and she's not just a love in space. When I say love, I mean the fire. You've tasted the fire. But the fire alone is flames, and it burns. She is not about more or less fire. She is a constant, and she is that which is at the very core of fire itself. Thereby she is a constant. When I say she's not burning, but she's warm, that warmness is the constant. But she doesn't become more, and she doesn't become less. Not more fire or less fire. That's all a play with power, which indicates a separation from power itself. When she is a constant and not a more or less, it means that there is a total emerging as the very core, at the very core of matter, as power itself. So as we emerge as her, it's not something that becomes more and more powerful. It's like losing that which separates from the eternal power of her. And thereby it becomes a dropping into her, which becomes more and more solid, as she is the very power. It's a dying into her. It's not a becoming more and more of her. In that becoming one with her, in becoming that constant, it seems the pain, all of the pain is already swallowed up. Do you need paper, love?
Yes.
magnificence, huh? I look forward to report to you in 6 months or a year what it looked like. What grace.